Let me start with something that will surprise most people over 60. For years, you have probably been told that coffee is a guilty pleasure, that it raises your blood pressure, strains your heart, and that you really should cut back as you get older. Maybe your doctor mentioned it. Maybe a well-meaning relative did. Now here is what the actual science says. Some of the largest, longest-running studies ever conducted on human health have found the opposite. Moderate coffee drinking is not just harmless after 60. It is consistently linked to living longer, aging healthier, and a lower risk of the diseases people fear most. I know that sounds almost too good to be true. So today, I am going to walk you through exactly what the research found, the real numbers from studies involving millions of people, how many cups actually give the benefit, and one critical detail that almost every news report got wrong. Stay with me, because that last part could change what you put in your cup tomorrow morning. Before we get into the studies, here is something most people do not understand about coffee. Coffee is not just caffeine. It is one of the richest sources of antioxidants in the average person's diet, compounds that fight a process called oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is the slow, daily damage to your cells that drives aging and disease, a bit like rust forming on metal over time. Coffee also contains compounds called chlorogenic acids that reduce inflammation throughout the body. So when researchers study coffee, they are not just studying a stimulant, they are studying one of the most chemically complex drinks you consume. Now, the research, and this is where it gets remarkable. A massive dose-response meta-analysis, a study that combines the results of many separate studies, pooled data from 40 separate studies covering more than 3.8 million people. The finding, the lowest risk of death from all causes, occurred in people drinking about 3.5 cups of coffee per day, with a 15% lower risk of dying compared to non-drinkers. Let me repeat that. Across nearly 4 million people, those who drank around 3 to 4 cups daily had a measurably lower risk of death. An earlier large meta-analysis of nearly 1 million people found a similar result, a 16% lower risk of all-cause mortality at 4 cups per day, and the strongest heart protection at 3 cups per day. These are not small studies. These are some of the largest investigations into a single food or drink ever performed. But here is what should really get your attention, and this is the part most people over 60 have never heard. In 2025, researchers from Harvard and the University of Toronto presented preliminary results from the Nurses' Health Study, one of the longest-running health studies in history. I want to be honest with you here. These particular findings were presented at a scientific conference, and the full study is still being finalized, so treat them as promising rather than final. But the source is serious. They followed more than 47,000 women for 30 years, tracking their diet and health every few years since 1984. They were not just looking at whether people lived. They were looking at whether people aged well, meaning living to 70 or beyond, free from major chronic diseases, with good physical function, healthy mental state, and no memory problems. The result? Women who drank coffee in midlife were significantly more likely to become what the researchers called healthy agers. Each additional cup per day was tied to a 2 to 5% higher chance of aging well, up to about 5 small cups per day. Now here is the detail almost every news report glossed over, and it is the most important part of this entire video. The benefit was specific to coffee, not caffeine in general. The same study found no link between healthy aging and decaffeinated coffee, and no benefit from tea. And people who drank soda? they tended to age worse. So this is not about a caffeine jolt. There is something specific about the combination of compounds in real caffeinated coffee that appears to support healthy aging. Let me put this in perspective with one more striking number. A separate long-term study found that for each 2 additional cups of coffee per day, there was a 22% lower risk of death from all causes within that group. The pattern keeps repeating across different populations, different countries, and different decades of research. So what does this actually mean for you? Before I give you the practical guidance, let me say one quick thing. If you are finding this useful, the best way you can support this channel is simply to hit that like button and subscribe. I read every comment, and honestly, knowing that this information is actually helping people is what motivates me to keep digging into the research and making these videos for you. And here is something I want to commit to. Once or twice a month, I am going to bring you a video exactly like this one, breaking down the very latest research on a single food, supplement, or habit, what it really does to your body, the genuine benefits, and the honest risks. No hype, no miracle claims, just what the science actually shows, explained simply. So if that is the kind of straight, honest health information you want, make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it. Now, let me give you the practical guidance. The sweet spot in nearly every study is 3 to 4 cups of coffee per day. This is where the protective effect is strongest. Beyond about 5 cups, the benefit levels off. More is not better. And the cups in these studies are small to medium, not the giant 20-ounce cups from coffee shops. Think of a standard mug, roughly 8 ounces. Timing matters too. Research published in the European Heart Journal found that drinking coffee, specifically in the morning, was associated with a lower risk of death and cardiovascular disease compared to drinking it throughout the day. Morning coffee appears to work better with your body's natural rhythms and is less likely to disturb your sleep. But here is the catch that ruins everything for many people, and it has nothing to do with the coffee itself. It is what you put in it. Loading your cup with sugar, flavored syrups, and heavy sweetened creamers can completely cancel out the benefits and replace them with the harms of added sugar. The people in these studies were largely drinking coffee black or with minimal additions. A coffee drink with 40 grams of sugar is not the same beverage the researchers studied. If you want the benefit, keep it simple, black or with a splash of milk. Now, a word of caution about overdoing it, because this is important. More coffee is not better. Beyond about 4 to 5 cups a day, you do not gain extra protection, and you may start to feel the downside. Too much caffeine can cause trouble sleeping, anxiety, a racing or pounding heart, jitteriness, irritability, and stomach upset. In some people, it can temporarily raise blood pressure. And here is a serious point. For people who already have heart disease, some research suggests that heavy intake, meaning 4 or more cups a day, may actually increase risk rather than lower it. The benefits in all these large studies came from moderate, consistent drinking, not from drinking as much as possible. If coffee makes you feel wired, anxious, shaky, or keeps you awake at night, that is your body telling you to cut back. Listen to it. Now, I need to be honest about who should be careful, because coffee is not right for everyone. If you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, caffeine can cause temporary spikes. Talk to your doctor before increasing your intake. If you have a heart rhythm problem like atrial fibrillation, if you have severe acid reflux, if you are prone to anxiety, or if coffee disrupts your sleep, these are real reasons to limit or avoid it. And critically, if you take medications, some interact with caffeine. Always check with your doctor. Robert, a 68-year-old from Oregon, had cut out coffee years ago because he assumed it was bad for his heart. After his cardiologist reviewed his case, he was told that for him, 2 to 3 cups of black coffee in the morning was perfectly fine and possibly beneficial. He went back to enjoying his morning ritual without guilt. That is the point of this video. Not to tell you to start drinking coffee if you do not, but to free those of you who gave it up out of fear that was never supported by the evidence. Here is your takeaway. If you already enjoy coffee and tolerate it well, the research strongly suggests you can drink 3 to 4 cups a day, ideally in the morning, ideally without loading it with sugar, and feel good about it. This is one of the rare cases where something you love may genuinely be good for you. If this video changed how you think about your morning cup, tap the like button. It helps this channel reach more people who have been needlessly worrying. And drop a comment below. How many cups of coffee do you drink a day? I read every single one. Disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Coffee affects everyone differently. Always consult your doctor before making changes to your diet, especially if you have heart conditions, high blood pressure, or take medications that may interact with caffeine.